Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here. Got you covered all things MLB today. Happy opening day to everybody. Baseball been very, very good to me. But no, we are excited. Jell and I, big baseball fans, so we're back at it. Kicking off season, all hopes are high. Jell's rocking his Brewers hat. I'm rocking my Cubs hat. You can check us out on YouTube. Go there, type in Dead Arm Sports, subscribe, click the bell there. You know the drill. You know the drill. Follow us there so that way you can check out us in action. Question of the day, Jell. Baseball themed episode. So I have a baseball themed question of the day.
Oh, wow. Shocker.
Shocking.
I didn't think that's where we were going.
One thing, though, you might not have seen coming is I have to preface this by saying, sorry, Brewers fans, you're not an answer here. Sorry, Cubs fans, you're not an answer here. Besides your own team, Joe, in honor of it being the Final Four this weekend, what are your top four teams you would like to see win the World Series this year? Not going to win the World Series, but which four teams would you like to see win the World Series?
Cleveland is
number one.
Absolutely. Like that's a lock. They were, so close back in 2016 ending, which allowed the Cubs to end their drought. But God, and that series was so close so many times for Cleveland to win it.
3-1.
Who would have thought Rajay Davis would have had a hell of a game 7? Was it game 7 when Grandpa Rossi hit that dinger? Yeah. That went just, over the fence. You're talking 2 inches over his glove, maybe. They were that was such a big homer. And then he goes in, and then Davis goes and hits that jack to tie it up in game 7. Which Rajay Davis, God, does he have 50 home runs in his entire career? He's been in the league for 10, 15 years, it feels like.
Right.
He's not a home run hitter, but of course he does it in game 7. That's what makes the MLB playoffs so awesome. I got to say Cleveland is my number one. They're so close so often. They're good often. They're just they're so damn close.
Yeah.
Number 2, God, there's something about the Miami Marlins that it's they win a World Series, then they just completely tear it down. And then a decade later, it wasn't a decade. I think they won in 97, tore it down. They won another in, I believe, 2003 and tore it down. And I don't like the way they do business in terms of how they're spending their money, but there is a new ownership group out there. I love Jazz Chisholm. He's maybe my favorite player in baseball right now.
Jazzed about it.
I am jazzed about him. Yes. So it'd be cool to see it, less about the Marlins, but more Jazz Chisholm might be my favorite player in the league right now. I just love the energy and love the way he, that he plays, and he's moving from second base to center, and I like the move. It hopefully gives him a
transition. You don't see that too often.
Right. But it looks like, similar transition. It looks like we might be seeing, sounds like Fernando Tatis is going to be moved to the outfield once he gets back and healthy for the Padres.
Yeah, Xander Bogaerts coming
with Bogaerts coming in and everything, and Manny already commanding third base. So you obviously can't put Bogaerts there. So
could you imagine Manny Machado in the outfield? Ugh.
Oh, him lumbering around out there. God, that would be hey, another Manny. That'd be like Manny Ramirez out there.
Yeah. Just tearing up,
lumbering around, jogging to a ball. And then I'd see a Manny Machado, him cutting off the center fielder, just like Manny Ramirez did that one time.
Diving for the ball.
Diving to cut it off. What kind of move was that shit? Okay, so I'll put the Marlins there at 2. Number 3, man, a top 4 here. I always liked when the Royals won it. I mean, I know they won it about a decade ago. I think it might have been 2012 when they won it. And I loved that. So seeing it, seeing some of these, a small market team winning the World Series and building up a team from scratch. And, they're never one of those chasers of big free agents. They're not big money spenders. They build their teams through and develop their players. And if all their players are peaking at the right time, they're willing to strike when the iron is hot and go grab a player at the deadline, similar to what they did with Johnny Cueto when they won that World Series. Cueto was the top pitcher on that free agent market, and they gave up some of their higher end prospects to go get Cueto to make a run at the World Series, and they made the World Series one year and then they won it the following. So I always like seeing that, and not teams that are just like, hey, we're gonna overpay for all these free agents, the way that the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers do it. So I like seeing a team building from within. That's always cool to me. And maybe that's because I am a Brewers fan of a small market, but it's a similar, hey, Bucks also, for you YouTube viewers, rocking a Bucks shirt and a Brewers cap. I mean, the Bucks, the way that they did it, they drafted Antetokounmpo, they traded for Drew Holiday. They traded for Chris Middleton, where Middleton wasn't looked at as, he was basically a throw-in in this trade, and he ended up being the best player in that trade. So I just like seeing that kind of stuff, and the way that the Royals did it and developed from within. I always find that, that's always appealing to me. And the last team that I'd probably put into this mix that I would like to see win it, I guess I got to get another AL team in here just to balance it out a little bit. Let's go Toronto. Get the Canadians, give them a little bit of loving. Toronto's had some really good teams over the last few years, and they've made some moves to spend a little bit more money. But again, I mean, their stars, Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette, Craig Biggio Jr., those are guys that are all internally developed, and I just like seeing that kind of a way that
don't forget about
built.
Brandon Belt.
Spoiler alert: Brandon Belt is a Blue Jay.
My top four, kicking it off, number one is similar to yours. It's the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, their drought is the longest in baseball right now. And again, like you said, that was an epic World Series between them and the Cubs. I'd like to see them get over the hump. Going to keep it in the AL for my team too, and it's the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners have never won it. They're a super fun team to watch.
Seattle. That's a
great one.
There.
I mean, that would be awesome to see them win a World Series. Number three is a smaller market team that has been spending a ton of money lately, and that's the Padres. Padres, again, are another fun team to watch with a lot of young, up-and-coming MLB players on that team. So that's another one I think would be a lot of fun. They've had some epic battles there with the Dodgers of late, so I'd love to see another Padres-Dodgers Whales Vagina Padres. So it's technically the Whales Vagina Fathers.
I think that their version of I thought there was some other definition that they go by with the Padres, but I was thinking Friars, and that's a whole different conversation.
The number four team, just for the heck of it, because there's so much turmoil around this organization and where they're going to be playing down the road, let's give the Oakland A's a World Series here. And they've had so many fun players to watch that they end up having to trade away because they don't have the money. And I'd love to see the Oakland A's end up making a World Series, win it, and just have a bunch of questions on, we just won a World Series. What are we going to do now? So ultimately, I would like to see them stay in Oakland and not move to Vegas, but that's a conversation for another day.
In our last episode, I was thinking I want to throw Oakland in there as an expansion squad. Once the A's move to Vegas and give Oakland an expansion team. I was thinking about it, but I ultimately went Montreal. Again, another city that has already had an MLB team.
We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Mentioned in the intro, you can find us on YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell there after you type in Dead Arm Sports into that search bar. We monitor that chat. You can ask us any questions there. Otherwise, if you miss out there, you can ask us questions on our individual handles at Dead Arm Sports, at Dasgel. That's at DASJEL. That can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DASJPEC. Send us in any questions you have. Otherwise, if you have any ideas for segments, anything you want us to do, we are here for you.
And we're getting into draft season. So any draft topics, NFL Dynasty. Draft topics. I mean, we're all ears to see, listen to what you guys want or take on that feedback to see what you guys want to listen to. So NFL draft, obviously, that's a big hitter. We talk college football, we talk NFL. NFL draft is the merging of those two sports. So it's we're getting closer, and we want to hear what you guys want to listen to.
Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of your written review, and we will swag you up with some Dead Arm Sports stuff. Again, big MLB preview episode today. Gonna kick it off going over some of the new rules that are going on this season. Then we're gonna get into our division predictions, a little playoff prediction, give you our World Series picks, and then some of the postseason awards, just briefly, MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year. But we'll get into some of the new rules this season. Gonna kick it off here, Gel. I've got 5 of them, then I'll kick it over for you for your reaction, anything you like, dislike here. Pitch timer is going to be a new 15-second timer, 20 seconds with a runner on, and 30 seconds between batters. So adding that in this year. The shift, that has been a big topic the last couple of years. You have to have 2 infielders on each side of second base at the start of the pitch. So we've got that going back to kind of normal before all the analytics came in, and you got 5 guys over on the left side of the infield to help out take hits away from the left-handed batters. Larger bases, 15 inches to 18 inches. Joe, you know the significance of 3 inches there. So we got larger bases this year.
I was going to call you a dick, but that would have been a little too obvious of a joke to make.
Got an extra wild card team this year. So there's going to be 6 playoff spots in each league. Top 2 teams get a bye. So that'll be the top 2 division winners. That 3rd division winner automatically gets that 3rd seed. They're going to face off against the 6 seed and the 4 seed versus the 5. First round of the wild card will be a best of 3 series at the higher seed. So it'll be at 3 and 4 seed, all 3 games if necessary. And then the winner of the 4-5 matchup will take on the 1 seed. Winner of the 3-6 will take on the 2. So no reseeding at all there. And one of my favorite things that is new this year, Joe, everyone plays everyone for the first time ever. Every team will play all other 29 teams at some point in time during the season. So we will not have 17 games against each division rival. We'll have those are minimized so that way we can play every team. So we won't have to worry about watching the Brewers and only playing Seattle or whoever once every Pirates 4 years.
For Brewers Pirates fucking 70 times a year. Like that's gone. Finally. Yep. Thank you. And so they had introduced that. They had announced that rule was coming at the beginning of last season, so last off season, but now it's here. It feels so good.
Yep. Any other rules that you liked there, or any quorums at all with anything that they've done?
I love all of them. I genuinely love all of them. You mentioned the 3 inches. I know you made a joke there, but I do understand the significance of that. Yeah, and the reason that people are saying that, hey, this is for safety, so that which is true. You have a bigger, landing zone for the first baseman, the pitcher that's running across halfway across the field to go, to catch a ball from the first baseman that had to go field to grounder. So there is the safety component in here. What's being overlooked though is you're that much closer to second base. And how many of these attempted steals a guy gets tagged out because, by a quarter inch, the difference is the thickness of the webbing in the glove. 3 inches is pretty significant, and I think we're going to be seeing more stolen. Shut the fuck up. We're going to be seeing more stolen bases from we're just going to be seeing more action on the base paths, and that's something that analytics has basically wiped out. It's like, is it really worth you stealing, getting an extra 90 feet for and potentially risking being out versus, depending on what the success rate of that base stealer is, being a little bit closer is going to make a big difference. I think we're going to see more action on the base paths, which I love. Additionally, the pitch clock, again, it's about having, and the shift, banning the shift. All three of these rules it's just resulting in more action. And, we're not sitting here. We don't have a pitcher that's sitting there, shaking off his catcher 4 times to try to find the perfect pitch. We're not going to see a batter step out and adjust both of his batting gloves, adjust his freaking elbow guard, adjust his shin guard, reset completely. Seeds. Like, yeah. Oh, I need a snack. Like, hey, hot dog guy, can you throw, like, that's
lemon ice here.
Like, that's over. We're going to see more action and more activity. And then the same thing with banning the shift. Like, all these, I see these baseball purists that are saying, hey, all you got to do is, just beat the shift, just bunt it down the third baseline. Do we really want to see our top sluggers like, well, I guess I have no choice but to try to bunt it down the third baseline. And also, it's not that easy. That's why it's not being done. So all those 3 big moves are done to not only, not just like, I know a lot of people are stuck on this pitch clock, and it's like, oh, we don't need to shorten the game, blah, blah, blah. It's not done just to make the game a few minutes shorter. It's done to put some pace into the game. That's what a lot of people, I feel like, are missing, and put some pace to the game, make there, have there be more action, more activity. Your casual fans are like, God, I can't sit through a full baseball game. And it's not because, hey, this took 20 extra minutes. It's, God damn it, I'm bored. Like, there's nothing happening for so much time between each pitch. Like, this is boring. And then the pitch takes 1 second. We're now going to, there's going to be half the time potentially eliminated in between pitches. And that's what I love. More activity, more action, faster pace of play. I think those are all wins. I love banning the shift. It's going to help. It's going to make the analytics nerds a little bit less relevant. And that's great, because now, and there's a reason that, typically your third baseman plays within a few feet of third. Your shortstop plays in a general area. Your second baseman plays in a general area. Like, that's how baseball is meant to be played. And I think that's what we're getting back to, is making, maybe this should be the new hat, make baseball great again, like MBGA. I think that's what they're going for. I love it. And it's not only shortens the game, increased pace of play, more base stealing. Who doesn't love a stolen base attempt? And hits, more hits, like more hits. That's great by banning the defensive shift. So I'm all for all of those changes. And in terms of the MLB postseason rules, I don't want to expand playoffs too much, but I do love the bracket form that it's going to be done in. We're obviously still in March Madness, and it's that's the best event in sports. So I'm all for that. I think that they're, pun intended, I guess, hitting it out of the park.
Love it. Yeah, even former Brewer and Cub Daniel Vogelback was joking about he might be stealing some bases with him being a little bit bigger this year.
We'll see about that. Although Albert Pujols had a surprisingly high stolen base attempt rates because nobody was obviously looking at him.
Yeah, they did
looking
try
like
out
Tim
the pitch
Duncan
clock.
running the bases.
They tried out the pitch clock in minor leagues last year, and it ended up shortening like 20 to 25 minutes a game. So that should help out quite a bit, which, like you said, it's sometimes gets a little boring even for the biggest of baseball fans out
Well,
there.
think about that 20 to 30 minutes. That was just 20 to 30 minutes of dead time that's being cut off. It's not, you're not shortening the game. The game is still 9 innings, 27 outs. It's not shortening the game. It's just pick it up a little bit and
keep her moving, bud.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to kick it off with our division predictions here. So we'll just run through each division and just kind of go through what teams are in the division, the order that you think they're going to finish in, Gel. So why don't we kick it off the AL East, which historically has been a lot of Yankees, Red Sox in the past, but a lot of up and coming teams with a lot of young prospects built up through their farm system that are fighting here. Do you see those two powerhouses being at the top of the division, or what do you see from the AL East?
Not so fast, my friend. It's the Blue Jays time. I love Toronto this year. They've made some nice moves. They sent away some players over to to Arizona, bringing in Dalton Varsho, who's going to end up likely penciling in as their 4-hitter. So he's got nice pop. I love that addition. They did end up sending Teoscar Hernandez to Seattle, who was a great player for them, but they had a little bit of a logjam in that outfield. So I love that. I love that move. Varsho can also play both catcher and outfield, as well as, just be and I guess at this point, anybody can be a DH, but, a lot of pop out of him. And I'm really liking Toronto this year out of the AL East and in the AL to make a nice little run here.
I like it. I have the Blue Jays finishing in second place in the division. We'll get into I think they're going to make the wild card a little bit later on, but ultimately I still have the Yankees. I think this is their division behind Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Anthony Volpe got the nod for opening day, going to be batting 9th in their roster. So kind of
he's one of the he's I believe he's a top 5 prospect in all of MLB. Yeah. So that's nice. If he's huge. MLB ready, that's huge.
Yep. So I think the Yankees will end up running it back this year with that. Again, have Toronto finishing second. Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, we talked about them a little bit earlier on. Fun team to watch, and I think that they're going to be able to make some noise here. Shane McClanahan for the Rays is going to be up for a possible Cy Young. He's one of the favorites right now, so I think that'll keep Tampa in the hunt a little bit, finishing third. And then surprisingly, Baltimore not finishing in the cellar in my rankings. I've got Baltimore in that 4 spot. Adley Rutschman behind the plate there should be making some noise this year. Hopefully Baltimore can string together a few solid seasons before they ultimately have to ship off all their good players again, like they do every single time. And ultimately, Red Sox are going to be finishing in last place in that division. They brought in Justin Turner, but there's just not enough there for that team to compete this year. So I don't see them competing with a up and coming AL East with a lot of young, fun players to watch.
Yeah, the reason that I've got the Yankees not at the top, it actually goes back to, I can basically replay what we said at the beginning of last year in last year's preview. They're reliant on that long ball, and that showed in extreme streakiness. They started off that season looking like they were on pace to win, and pretty relatively deep into the season that they could end up with, they were on pace to win something around 118, 120 games and shattered the all-time record for most wins in a season. And then they proceeded to then lose 16 out of 18 when their bats got cold, which that's just inevitable with a team that's extremely reliant on power. So I've ultimately, I got the Yankees sitting or falling into second place in the AL East for that reason. But, obviously they got talent, but can you see Aaron Judge hitting 60 plus bombs again? Let's be realistic about that. He's probably going to fall back to somewhere in the 40s. That's most likely what's going to happen here. So and Toronto's just, I don't know. I feel like they're making the right moves. I mean, Jose Barrios, they brought him in thinking, or they traded for him thinking, hey, he's going to be the ace of our staff. Didn't work out, but that makes him a great 3-starter. I think they're doing the right things here. They went out and got Brandon Belt, as mentioned. So, championship pedigree there. So yeah, I mean, I respect the Yankees pick. I don't have them as winning the division. Rays, 3rd place. Love it. They're somehow always in the mix. Shane McClanahan, as you mentioned, Randy Arozarena, somehow always gets kind of forgotten as one of the top offensive players in the league. So I think they're going to be competitive, and God, it's you can always just see Tampa just kind of squeaking into the mix and ruining somebody's season. So I like that. I like them there for 3rd. I like Baltimore 4, and I like the Red Sox for 5th. So I guess I just disagree on the top 2, but yeah, overall strong.
All right.
One other note, Joey Gallo is a Twin.
And we're moving to the AL Central and going to talk about his Twins here. Do not have them finishing in 1st. I do have the Cleveland Guardians in 1st place behind the bat of Jose Ramirez. I just think they're going to be too much for kind of a lackluster rest of the division. I think the Twins will be fine competing for a playoff spot, bringing back Carlos Correa after he signed with every other team other than the Twins this offseason and ended up back there. But
that was such a shit show.
That was literally. And so I've got the Twins in 2nd. Dylan Cease is going to be up for another Cy Young, possibly. He's been phenomenal for the White Sox in that starting rotation. So I do like the White Sox to finish 3rd, not looking at a playoffs, but should be competing through August. And then I've got Detroit in front of Kansas City. Detroit, they need a bounce back. Spencer Torkelson was a huge disappointment last year. He was one of the guys I was rooting
both
for
of our rookie
year.
of the year picks
Not
last
great,
year.
Bob.
Not great, Bob. I almost went Bobby Witt. And he still didn't win it, but Spencer Torkelson ended up getting sent back down to AAA.
Back down to AAA, yep. Javi Baez was their big free agent signing last year. Terrible season from him too. So they're going to need a bounce back for 4th place. And then Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, they've got a fun team to watch, but I think ultimately, again, it's still not going to be competing for anything relevant this year.
Yeah, I've got the, I almost said the I word. I've got the Guardians. I've got the Guardians winning the division as well. I mean, Shane Bieber leading that staff. He might be, he's going to be a Cy Young candidate the way that he's been pitching over the last couple of years. He's an obvious ace of that staff. Jose Ramirez still remains as maybe one of the more underrated players in the league. And it's probably because he plays in Cleveland, and also because he doesn't look like, no offense, but he doesn't look like a supreme athlete, but but he is. I mean, he's really a stud all around player, good defensively. He can play middle. He can play 2nd base and 3rd. He's pretty much designated. He's going to be designated for 3rd base going forward, but he had the ability to play both positions. He's a home run hitter. He hits for average. He can get you some steals now with those extra 3 inches. Who knows what's ahead of him? And for him, and then also, I mentioned that 2nd base now is pretty much occupied. They just signed their breakout star Andres Jimenez, who made the All-Star team last year, to a 7-year deal. Now that's one of those deals where, hey, you're going to eat up the rest of his arbitration years and then try to, have control over him during a couple of his, what would have been free agency years. But he was an all-star last year for a reason. I love that combo along with Shane Bieber. They acquired Josh Bell. By the way, Josh Bell is a Guardian. So
I love all these old players, new face, new old faces.
Same face, old face, new place. Yeah, we're gonna be sprinkling those in throughout the episode. I think that they're doing it right. I've got the Chi Sox in 2nd place here, ahead of your Twinkies. I think that getting rid of LaRussa is great. He's,
What
I
a
mean,
mistake.
that dude was, he was done. And like, hey, you had a great career in St. Louis, whatever. You won yourself a couple titles, but he had no business managing another team at this point. Just kind of out of touch with baseball at this point. So bringing in a new manager, I love it. I wish it was Jose Guillen making a return, but that didn't happen. So, but new manager in town. They've got all the talent in the world. The only problem here is Liam Hendricks. He was diagnosed with what was it? Hodgkin's
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he's going to miss some time while treating that. But I think they'll be able to get through that and be fighting for a playoff spot. And then third place and beyond. Third place Twinkies, fourth and fifth, same as you with going Tigers in fourth, and Royals. Again, unfortunately, finishing last. Bobby Witt's nice, but I think the Tigers have a few more pieces that will allow them to compete more this year than the Royals.
All right. Any surprises out in the AL West, Gel, or do you have the Astros reigning supreme again this year?
The Astros are going to win it. Yeah, I've got Houston. I mean, I think that they might be the best team in baseball. I think that they're probably the top team in the AL as a whole. Christian Javier, Framber Valdez managing the top of that rotation is strong. They got through or at least, was it all of last year, or at least most of last year, without Justin Verlander at the top of the rotation, which was the expectation, was JV was going to be their ace, and didn't really seem to skip a beat with him out. So I just think they're a bunch of studs. They're returning, Kyle Tucker, he's really getting into his prime. Altuve still hanging in there. They also, Jose Abreu, old face, new place, moving from the White Sox to the Astros. So stud first baseman Yuli Gurriel was kind of the weak spot in that offensive lineup outside of Martin Maldonado at catcher. And now you replace an old Yuli Gurriel with an old Jose Abreu, but Abreu at least still has some pop. I like the Astros. I know for a fact, my biggest miss in my predictions last year was when I said, who the hell is Jeremy Pena replacing Correa at short? He just ends up going off, winning AL Rookie of the Year. I believe won World Series MVP. Like, I missed there, but I'm not going to miss on the Astros this year. I think that they got the AL, or at least that division, pretty much sealed up. Beyond that, I mean, I've got Seattle finishing in second place, competing for a wild card spot in the playoffs. And then after that, the Angels, I can't have any hope for them. And then the A's are just a dumpster fire. So, and Rangers, they're making moves, but I still got them at third, in third in this division.
Nice. I actually have Seattle winning this division. I think they're going to end up having a good year this year. I think they're going to have everything kind of clicking, and really, really like Julio Rodriguez coming off of a phenomenal year last year outside of his April. He's having a great spring training so far this year. So I like them coming out firing. Got Houston in a close second in that division. Jose Altuve scares me a little bit with his injury from the World Baseball Classic, but ultimately they've got so much depth in starting pitching that they should be fine. No worries there. And I think these two teams, it's going to come down to that final weekend to decide the division and who's going to end up in one of those top wild card spots. Third place, I've got Texas Rangers, Jacob deGrom coming in. I think they could make a little bit of noise if he can stay healthy, which is a huge if. He has not been able to do that, but Rangers I like what they're doing down there too. I still think they're a year or two away from being extremely relevant, but solid at least. And then, Angels, A's. I mean, Angels, the combination of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani.
It's two best players in baseball.
We should be talking about winning this division, but they won't because they're the Angels. And then, the A's. I mean, they're talking about moving out of Oakland, and I mean, Jesus Aguilar is their starting first baseman. So that's what we're working with.
Not great, Bob. Probably their 4-hitter as well.
Yeah. So, that'll wrap up the AL. Moving over to the NL
Actually, here,
East.
really quick, I guess one quick comment on the Rangers. I know you said you like what they're doing, and they've got Corey Seager, who's one of the better shortstops in the league. Marco Scooter, or not Jesus, Marcus Simeon, Marco Scutero. That's a whiff. Marcus Simeon commanding that second base spot. Jake going after Jacob deGrom. I mean, they're spending money.
Yeah.
What is it going to take now for the Rangers? I mean, it's just like, I feel like they've got, it's almost similar to the Angels. They've got these 3 high-end stars. Nothing beyond that. You said you think they're just a couple of years away, hopefully, as long as some of these prospects come up. Is that all it's going to take, you think? I mean,
I think prospects.
What is this window that we can see? Because you can't be sitting here waiting too long for these prospects to come up. But I don't know. They're in this really weird spot with these 3 really high-end expensive players and nothing beyond it.
Yeah, and that's sort of more so they need their prospects to come up and just need more consistency too. They're just very inconsistent, especially in the hitting. But they've got cornerstone pieces, like you'd mentioned, with those 3 guys. So I think they have stuff to build around. It's just prospects, which again, that's every team's got
extremely
prospects,
hit and miss, right?
Yeah. Moving into that NL East, the Braves have been reigning supreme there the last couple of years, and I think they're going to end up winning the division again this year. I've got Ronald Acuna Jr. in the MVP talks again. I might be mentioning his name later, might not, but we'll see. One of us might be, one might not. But no, Atlanta Braves should be winning this division. New York Mets ended up bringing in Justin Verlander. I like them to finish second, which I was going back and forth between them and Philly, but Philly bringing in Trey Turner. So both those teams spending big this offseason to try and get back into playoff hunt. Philly's obviously losing in the World Series to the Astros last year. And then I got Miami in a close 4th, Sandy Alcantara, your boy Jazz Chisholm in there as well. So Miami, they could make a little bit of noise, but ultimately I don't think they have the firepower to compete with those top 3 teams. And then yeah, the Nationals. I mean, they're going to be a top 3 pick in the draft the following season. So CJ Abrams is there, but that's not a ton there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to go Phillies to win this division. Trey Turner is now a Philly as well. They're out there spending big money, but this Rhys Hoskins injury in spring training, tearing his ACL, he's out for the year. That combined with the Bryce Harper injury, he's recovering from Tommy John. I know he DHs for the most part, but still, you got to rehab that elbow.
Yeah. Maybe
not as intensely as you do if you're a pitcher, and he can probably get away with coming back a little bit sooner than a pitcher could. For sure should be able to. So he may be like kind of a mid-season or trade deadline type of a return, but I just think that those 2 injuries are going to be too much. I wanted the Phillies, especially with the addition of Trey Turner. Aaron Nola, him and the Phillies weren't able to come to a contract agreement. So, and he's due to be a free agent next year. You always got to love a guy on a contract year, especially, an ace of a staff, similar to how it looks like Corbin Burns will be for the Brewers this season. So, I love this Phillies team. If it weren't for the injuries, I'd have them winning this division. Ultimately, I'm going to give it to the Braves. I mean, you mentioned Acuna, Spencer Strider, Michael Harris,
Matt Olson,
year 2 of Matt Olson at that first base spot. Austin Riley, another underrated third baseman in the or at that position, and massive downgrade at that shortstop position, going from Dansby Swanson to former Brewer Orlando Arcia. Yikes. But I think they're going to be able to get over that. You still got Ozzie Albies at the second base spot. So your middle infield is still, you got one good hitter in that middle infield. I like the Braves to win this division. I've got the Mets finishing in No, sorry, I've got the Marlins finishing in second here.
Ooh,
I like a nice
spicy.
little jump from them. They did acquire Gene Segura to play second base.
Mean Gene?
Mean Gene fighting machine. Segura. He's going to be commanding that second base spot. Nice contact hitter, nothing special, but that also, as previously mentioned, that allows Jess Chisholm to smoothly move out to center field. And, I think they got a little bit of swag to him with, being in that Miami area. Sandy Alcantara coming off of that Cy Young. They moved off of Pablo Lopez in a trade with the Twins, who was their number 2 starting pitcher, but they got back, won the batting title last year in the AL. Luis something. I want to say Alvarado, and I know that's wrong. Luis Arias.
Yep.
So, you're getting production there automatically. God damn it. Who's the right fielder? Former Brewer.
Jeremy Burnett.
Jeff Jenkins. No, I'll figure it out. But I think it's a nice squad, and I think they're kind of like ready to make another Marlins type of jump kind of out of nowhere. I've got the Mets falling into third place. Obviously, on paper, the Mets are one of the best teams in the NL, but
they're the Mets.
Mets just always figure out a way to be the Mets. The Mets just always met. And so I've got them falling into third place. Beyond that, I guess, you fill in the blank between the rest of that division. I mean, it's nothing special past that.
NL Central, Joe, why don't you talk that one up and why the Cardinals are probably winning the division?
Not so fast, my friend.
Pirates?
Buccos winning it. They've got a really nice ace in Rich Hill. By the way, Rich Hill is a Pirate. No, I've got the Brewers. I think the Brewers have a very legitimate chance at winning this division. The Cardinals, again, they're going to be right there. You've got 2 of their MVP or 2 of last year's MVP candidates in Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, still obviously there commanding the corners, but they did have a little bit of turnover. I really like what the Brewers were able to do in the offseason and over one major move, which was trading away Colton Wong to Seattle and making that move to bring in Jesse Winker, an outfielder, back to Milwaukee. Maybe I'm a little bit biased here because Winker hit like 375 against the Brewers every time and like a shit. Hardly North, thank you. He always destroyed the Brewers. He had a pretty crappy year last year in Seattle, but he's a really good hitter. And I'm pretty pumped for the Brewers to have him commanding that right field spot / DH, the way that Council likes to move around his players. I see that being a really good fit, and that additionally, some additional left-handed power is always a plus to me with that. The way that Miller Park is laid out, it's nice to have some left-handed power going up into those bleacher seats out in right field. So I think that's a massive upgrade over a nice hitter in Hunter Renfroe, the baseball player, not the Raiders wide receiver, out in right field. But having a left-handed bat balances out that lineup a little bit more as well. And we've got Corbin Burns. Again, I mentioned this when I was talking to Aaron Nola, on a contract year, and that makes me think we got Cy Young stuff written all over him. He's going to be wanting to prove that he's worth a Garrett Cole type of deal. And I think he's going to be balling. Brandon Woodruff would be an ace on a number of staffs. Devin Williams, now is able to have a full off season to settle into that closer role versus being, you know, a setup man turned into a closer, where there's a massive difference in that role. I like Milwaukee this year. I'm not saying I've got them running, you know, making a World Series run or anything like that, but I think that I like their off-season moves, and I can't give the Cardinals a division win anyways.
How do you have the rest of that division shaking out?
Yeah, I've got the Cardinals finishing second there. I'll give the Cubs a little bit of credit there. I think that they may be in play for a wild card spot. Not that they're made any moves that I've fallen in love with. They didn't make any major acquisitions, but a lot of just, you know, solid players. Brad Boxberger is a Cub. So I like
Cody Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger is a Cub.
Dansby Swanson was a decent signing.
Drew Smiley joins that rotation. Who else did you say?
Dansby Swanson was a decent
Oh, yeah,
signing.
that's right. Oh, that is their big signing. I like a lot of their moves. I'm not saying it's going to put them over the top, but it's a lot. I think it's a lot better than what we thought the Cubs were going to do, which I think after they lost all of their top guys and Baez, Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras to the Cardinals, you know, Rizzo, etc. I think we all just assumed, hey, they're going into the, you know, tanking, and like they had done in the past under Theo Epstein, and they're gonna try to remain competitive, and I like that. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt over the Reds, and the Pirates. What does that Ken Griffey salary number look like for the Reds?
It was like $3 million or something like that. He's still getting paid.
Fourth highest salary on the roster. Crazy. So I got the Reds and Pirates finishing out, rounding out the bottom, you know, the cellar of the division.
Nice. I still have the Cardinals here. I think it is going to be a close race. It's going to come down to the last week of the season between them and the Brewers. I like that Wilson Contreras sign. As much as I hate seeing him go, it's pretty solid for the Cardinals going from Yadier Molina to Wilson Contreras. So pretty solid.
Somebody that can actually handle a bat.
Correct. But yeah, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. I mean, it's the Cardinals. You know that. I mean, what Jordan Walker is going to be potential rookie of the year this year, top prospect. So for some reason, the Cardinals are good, and they always seem to be able to develop their prospects. So it's insane. That is one of the, as much as I hate to say it, one of the best run organizations in all of sports, not just baseball. Milwaukee Brewers in second place again. I do have them making the playoffs. Spoiler alert, behind Corbin Burns. You'd mentioned Brandon Woodruff being an ace on any team, other pretty much than the Brewers. A lot of teams out there. Devin Williams, again, I do like what you said too, with Josh Hader gone now. He can settle into that closer role. So I do like Milwaukee making the playoffs in second place this year. I do think the Cubs are a year or two away. We're going to wait for Pete Crow Armstrong, Brennan Davis to end up popping the big leagues. But I do like some of the deals that they made. That Cody Bellinger one-year deal was a pretty big hit, but hey, it's a one-year deal. He goes off in the first half of the season. Maybe you can get some nice trade assets for him, flip him at the deadline if you're not in a playoff spot.
And it's only a couple years since he was an MVP.
2019.
Yeah, COVID, so you just need him to pop, and yeah, you could get some nice compensation.
Yep. Ian Happ's in a contract here, so we'll see what ends up happening there. And then I really like the up-the-middle defense with Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, two solid guys there that are Gold Glove caliber that should be a solid tandem there for the Cubs for years to come. So I do like them. I still think they're a year or two away from making the playoffs, but hopefully
Nico got a little extension as well
the other day too. Yep. So hopefully have some relevant baseball in August. That's what I'm hoping for this year. Then I got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh rounding out that division, not competing for anything other than a toilet bowl.
Will Myers is a Red. What?
Where is Surfer Boy Joe? That's what I want to know. Where is he at these days?
Where's who at?
Surfer Boy.
Surfer Boy.
Speaking of Surfer Boy, we got to see him in action when Gel Rick and I were out in San Francisco. He was on the Padres at the time. His name is escaping me for whatever reason right now. But
Travis Janikowski.
Janikowski, there it is. We had some drunk guy behind us just going, surfer boy.
Whenever Janikowski was up to bat, just surfer, because he's got the long flowing hair. He looks like a surfer boy.
For sure.
It was great.
So in the NL West, I've got the Padres winning the division over the Dodgers this year. I like what they've done. They've got Josh Hader for a full year now. He can settle into that Padres role after a shaky start when he got traded over. Juan Soto, and I think you're going to have a really nice jump after the first month and a half or so once Fernando Tatis gets back off of his suspension too. So I like them. Yu Darvish should have a solid year there in the bullpen as well. Got the Dodgers in second place. I mean, they're going to be awesome. They're the Dodgers. They're going to probably bring in some big names at the trade deadline to try and make a playoff push. Got San Francisco Giants behind Alex Cobb in third place there. Colorado Rockies in fourth. They're just, sorry, Chris Bryant.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah.
Ezequiel Tovar, though, his second season should settle in. He had a solid campaign last year as a rookie. And then Arizona Diamondbacks, you're pretty high on this guy, Corbin Carroll, making his debut there too. So should be a fun team to watch. But again, they're not going to be good at all. So.
Yeah, I've got the Padres as well at the top of this division. I mean, Fernando Tatis is still suspended, but he's going to join the team at some point. God, I almost said Giovanni Soto. Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, big money deals that they're just giving out. They just signed Manny to a big extension. It's so funny how quick that worked. By the way, just really quick side note here. Manny Machado says on some random day, like, I think I'm going to opt out of my contract. I really like the money that I'm seeing, that I saw in free agency this past offseason. It's like a week later, if even 7 days. It was probably more like 3 or 4 days. Padres give him a massive extension, and he's stuck in San Diego now, but that's not the worst place to be stuck. Jake Cronenworth also, I mean, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell commanding the top of that rotation. So I believe Joe Musgrove is still there as well. So it's a really good team, a lot of stars, well, both sides of the ball, both sides of the plate. And yeah, I think Padres have a good chance of winning this division. Dodgers, I'm gonna put them at second place here, but we've seen them. I feel like they're not re-signing Trey Turner. They haven't really been giving any big money to anybody. Normally, like we would see, they're giving big money to a Max Scherzer in the past. Normally would re-sign a Trey Turner type of player. Justin Turner, he's gone. I think they're just saving up so that they can give Shohei the bag next off season. So I've still got them finishing second. They're too good. They're too deep, but their second baseman, Gavin Lux, who was plugged in, he's out for the season. So they're taking another hit there. I think this division is just too weak for the Dodgers not to finish in the top two. I've got the Giants penciled in there at 3. I think they're going to be fine. Nothing special, but not awful like the final 2 teams. I've got the D-backs at 4. Like you mentioned, Corbin Carroll. I like what he's going to have to show coming up this off season or in this upcoming season. And the Rockies are just a joke. I haven't been able to figure out what the Rockies are trying to do since that run that they had back in 2008 with Carlos Gonzalez, Todd Helton, really pretty nice team. Since then, it's they've just been bad. And I have to wonder also, does the fact that they're in that altitude make a massive difference in what they're able to command in terms of trying to get free agent pitchers, et cetera? But if Chris Bryant doesn't bounce back, they're easily in the cellar, and they might be in contention for worst record in the NL, in my opinion.
Moving into our playoff predictions, why don't we start with the AL? Again, the 1 and 2 seeds have a bye. Who do you have getting a bye, Gel, and who do you have coming out of this wild card round to face those bye teams?
Yeah, my buys in the AL are going to be Toronto as the 1 seed and Houston as my 2 seed. I've got in the NL. Do you want to go by?
We can just run through the AL, just the wild card.
Okay. So my 1 seed is Toronto and Houston getting a bye. My 3 seed is going to be Cleveland coming out of the Central. They're going to be facing my 6 seed New York Yankees in the first round of the playoffs. I've got in my 4 seed, I've got the Seattle Mariners facing the 5 seed Tampa Bay, let's say Devil Rays. So I'm running back really quick. Toronto, Houston, Cleveland, Seattle, Tampa, Yankees. That's my 6. And then do you want me to just run through the whole bracket here?
Sure.
All right. I've got Cleveland versus the Yankees in round 1, Cleveland advancing. Seattle versus the the Rays in round 1 advancing. That's going to set up Houston versus Cleveland. Houston advances. Seattle versus Toronto. Seattle advancing into the final 4. Houston versus Seattle. I want Seattle so bad, but I've got Houston making the World Series here. Houston, Seattle. Houston is the winner of that ALCS.
All right. I will kick off my AL here. I've got Yankees taking over that 1 seed. I've got the Mariners coming in at the 2 seed.
Look at you.
So, yeah, I like the Mariners this year. Number 3, I've got Cleveland. 4, the Astros. 5, the Blue Jays. And 6, the Twins sneaking into the playoffs. I've got the Guardians beating the Twins in round 1 and the Astros over the Blue Jays in round 1 as well, setting up Yankees versus Astros. I have the Yankees winning there, knocking off the Astros. And then I've got the Mariners over the Guardians, setting up a Mariners-Yankees NLCS with Seattle taking down the Yankees in the ALCS. Seattle representing the AL in the World Series.
I love that. I love it.
Let's see if you love my NL here, Jill. NL, I have the Padres taking the 1 seed, Braves 2 seed. So those are my 2 buys. 3, I've got the Cardinals. 4, Dodgers with the top wild card seed. 5, I've got the Mets, and 6, your Brewers. The first round, I have the Dodgers advancing past the Mets and Brewers over Cardinals. So Cardinals early exit in the playoff as that 3 seed. Got the Padres knocking off the Dodgers in the next round to advance to the NLCS, and the Brewers knocking off the Braves to advance to the NLCS, setting up Padres, Brewers. And sorry, Jill, this is where the end of the line comes for the Brewers, have them falling to the Padres to set up a Padres Mariners World Series.
That would be a really freaking awesome World Series. I would love that. Outside, if I couldn't have the Brewers in there, that's about as good as it gets. My 1 through 6 seeds in the NL, I've got the Braves at 1, Padres at 2, the Mets at 3 as the second team from the AL East, the Brewers at 4. I got the Cards at 5, and I've got Miami in there at 6. Notable team missing the playoffs, the LA Dodgers.
Ooh.
I've got my round 1 matchup of my 3 seed Mets versus my 6 seed Marlins. I got Miami taking it. I got my Mets are going to Met, man. Mets are going to Met. I love seeing the Marlins. Again, that swag factor. I think that's legit in the postseason. My 4 seed Brewers versus the 5 seed Cardinals. I got the Brewers advancing there. Top of the rotation is just going to be too much. That's going to set up a Padres Marlins NLDS, and I'm going to have Miami again advancing here. As much as loaded as the Padres are, I struggle to trust them. I like Alcantara at the top of that Marlins lineup. My other NLDS series of Brewers Braves, I got Atlanta advancing there. I think Atlanta's, and then that sets up an NLCS of Miami, Atlanta. I think Atlanta's the class of the NL. They end up advancing to the World Series to face the Astros.
Who do you have winning?
And I got the Braves. I got the Braves winning it all. It's a combination of young talent and veterans. I mean, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley. They made a trade for Sean Murphy to be their catcher. Outfield is loaded. Ronald Acuna, you mentioned that he will be in NL MVP talks. And then that starting rotation led by Max Fried, Spencer Strider, etc. I mean, it's a really good squad. So I got them. The Bravos taking the cake here.
All right, my Padres versus Mariners. I have the Padres winning it. I think all of their moves that they made the last couple of years finally align. They get the most out of all of these guys and end up bringing that World Series back to Whale's vagina.
JD Martinez is a Dodger, by the way.
Quick run through the MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Years. We're running out of time on this episode. Why don't you start us off, Joe? Who are your MVPs for the AL and NL?
I wanted to go Julio Rodriguez in the AL, and this hurt to not give it to him because he's such a beast. But Shohei coming off that World Baseball Classic, I think like he's already got MVP written all over him. So I'm going to give it to Shohei, even though I wanted to give it to Julio. Right now, I think Shohei is he has to be the leader in the clubhouse. He showed that he's the best player in the world in the WBC, and that narrative is going to run all season long. In the NL, as mentioned by both of us, Ronald Acuna Jr. as my NL MVP. He was also my NL MVP last year. Also, Shohei was my AL MVP last year. So I guess I'm just sticking with my guns on this one. But no, I think Acuna's awesome. And so he's my go-to on this one.
AL MVP, I did go Julio with this one.
You bastard!
Julio Rodriguez. So I did do that. I think with my predictions with Seattle being that 2 seed winning that division, I think he's going to have an MVP caliber season to get in front of the Astros in that division. And I think that's what he ends up doing. NL is a little bit of a dark horse here. We mentioned Fernando Tatis Jr. being out for a chunk of the season. And I think I've got the Padres with the best record in baseball in my predictions, and that is on the bat of Manny Machado. So I've got Manny holding down the fort there and winning an MVP for.
I just hate Manny so much. I couldn't never give it to him.
But I think that's what will end up happening. I'll kick off the Cy Youngs here. AL, running it back with my Cy Young Award winner from last year prediction. That is Dylan Cease of the White Sox. He's just been on such an upward trajectory the last few years, and his stuff is just phenomenal. And I think it's going to come together this year, and he's going to end up winning that AL Cy Young Award. And then the NL, you mentioned it earlier, Jell. You love the people that are on contract years, and I think Corbin Burns is going to stick it to Milwaukee and be like, hey, should have met me and not burn any bridges over under $1 million for arbitration. So I think
$750K was the difference between what their arbitration number and they chose to go to arbitration. Like that's just burning a bridge. That's all that is. It's
Burnsing a bridge is what it is. Joe.
Oh God. I'm so glad this episode's almost over after that one.
Who are your Cy Young winners?
2 for 2. I got Dylan Cease in the AL. I mean, the numbers that he puts up, his ERA, his strikeout numbers aren't gonna blow your nips off. His, but his ERA will. And we're gonna be talking about the lowest ERA in all of baseball. It's kind of almost like similar to like a Greg Maddux, where Maddux, again, his strikeout numbers were not crazy, but he can paint corners. I think he's the best pitcher in the AL. I think Shohei would be in contention if he didn't win MVP. But you can't, I don't know. It almost feels weird to just give Shohei a Cy Young award, given that if you're in contention for Cy Young plus what he's going to do with the bats, you'd just give him the MVP. So I like Dylan Cease here as well. And yeah, Corbin Burnes, everything you just mentioned, he's got the stuff. He's motivated. Corbin Burnes.
Who do you have for Rookie of the Year in both leagues?
I'm going to go Gunnar Henderson for the Orioles. We saw the impact that last year, them bringing the Orioles, bringing up Adley Rutschman had for that Orioles locker room and that entire clubhouse, that entire organization. I think we're going to be seeing something pretty similar here with Gunnar Henderson. Maybe not as impactful given that Adley's already up there, but this duo of Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, that's the future of the Orioles. And he's just got a mad bat. He looks like a baseball player. He's got like the long hair. It's like, this guy's a baseball player. If he's not a baseball player, he's a hockey player. But, he just kind of looks the part, and he's one of the top prospects in baseball. They're going to bring him up. He's going to be up there right off the top. So I like Gunnar Henderson here for the O's.
What about the NL?
And I'm actually going to veer a little bit different here. I think you thought I was going to go Corbin Carroll, but I'm going to go Jordan Walker of the Cardinals. We see this every year. The Cards bring up guys from the minors, and they're extremely impactful right away. So I think that we're going to see that out of Jordan Walker, major impact right away. And he may be vying for an all-star spot when we get to that time of the season.
Yep. Yeah, I've got AL. I'm going Anthony Volpe of the Yankees. Going to be batting 9, made the opening day roster. He's hyped up, top 5 prospect. So I like him there, especially mixing in with all those veterans in that lineup. He's going to obviously have a lot of eyes on him with the Yankees being good. So I think he's going to get a lot of looks there. And I'm with you on the NL, Jordan Walker. I think he's going to be just phenomenal. And like you said, he's going to be flirting with an all-star game, not only Rookie of the Year. So he's somebody that, again, I don't know how the Cardinals keep doing it, but they're going to end up having a Rookie of the Year.
It's insane.
It's nuts.
Always just constant rotation.
Yep. Well, that'll wrap up our MLB episode. Hope you enjoyed our preview and enjoy the upcoming baseball season. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Go to that YouTube page, type in Dead Arm Sports into that search bar, subscribe, click the bell there. That way you know when our live episodes drop, typically on Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. But if you subscribe, you will know exactly when they go. Make sure you ask us any questions. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, at DosGel, at DosJPEG. Follow us on all of those socials, and we will answer any questions you have, or else answer them on the podcast if we like the question. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot, and we will swag you up. Gel, what are those platforms?
Hit us up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Make sure to find us on YouTube. As mentioned, just search Dead Arm Sports. You'll find us there. Constantly putting content up, not only just our episodes, but also occasional shorts, etc. So make sure to find us there and subscribe to our content. Anything that we put out, you'll get a notification for, as long as you hit that bell to get notifications for that content. God damn, I'm struggling with that word. And make sure to follow us there as well.
Again, appreciate everyone out there listening. If you could tell somebody you know about the podcast, help us spread the word. We would appreciate it greatly. Help you get even more content to your ear holes. And Gel, happy opening day, and close her out.
Guess where Jose Quintana now resides?
Pittsburgh?
The New York Mets.
Oh, jeez. Gosh.